Hey YouTube. So a friend recently asked me what my favorite movie was, and I had a hard time thinking of one, but what I do know is my favorite 10 minutes in all of film history. In my opinion, the first 10 minutes of Mad Max is the best 10 minutes in film history, just period. The first 10 minutes of Mad Max, I think, is the best short film ever recorded. It is truly a tour de force. When I saw it when I was 12 years old, I can remember it like it was yesterday. And it's the only movie that simultaneously started making me sweat and started giving me goosebumps at the exact same time. Now, part of that was the fact that I was 12, but the other part was just that it's so damn good, those first 10 minutes. So for those of you who have never seen the movie or just like to hear about it, this is basically the setup. So the film is set in the future. It's set in post-apocalyptic Australia, out of all places. And the key to survival is it's not about food, it's not about water, it's about gasoline, it's about petrol. And the police force there, trying to protect the metropolitan area, is stretched super thin. They can just barely protect the city. But the problem is the city is surrounded by basically a desert wasteland. And there's motorcycle bandits and thieves all around the city that come into the city and try to steal gas and other things and then run for it. And the movie starts in a very unique way. It doesn't start with action like you'd expect or some kind of explosion. The movie starts not with visual, but with audio. The movie starts with a CB radio alert from the cops. And it's almost like listening to a scanner that your grandparents might have. And what it's telling you is that all you know right from the get-go of the movie is that one of these bandits, who's named the Knight Rider, has escaped from one of the prisons downtown, stolen one of the cop cars, one of the fastest cop cars, and is starting to head toward the desert, starting to head out of the city, back to like a safe area. And so it kind of starts with this idea that you have to kind of visualize what just happened, because the movie's not going to show you that. And it really, I'm not much for reading books, but I now understand how people prefer books over movies, because without even trying, you're already visualizing what that escape looked like, although it never shows you. So the movie opens with that. And the cops are literally hot on this guy's trail, on the Knight Rider's trail, chasing in their cars. And their cars are labeled Pursuit, because that's what they do. They're usually meant for chasing guys within the city, and they're set up that way mechanically. But from the way it looks, very quickly, you see the bandit or you see the Knight Rider running away from the city. You see the cops right behind him, but the Knight Rider's stolen the cop's fastest car, so there's no way they're going to catch him. And his lead keeps getting longer and longer and longer. He's got better handling. He's got a faster engine. He's got one of the last of V8s. It's running hot on methane. For you gearheads out there, you know what I'm talking about. And so it starts out with kind of dread that this guy is going to get away. And after he gets further and further ahead of the cops, finally they put in the call to Max, Mad Max. And Max is a cop who spends his entire life literally just out there on the perimeter of the city, out there in the desert, out there on the border, the fringe of civilization, in his cop car all day long, Monday through Friday. He just sits out there, just waiting for this type of event. And it's a really lonely life. I mean, Max is a loner. He just sits in the car by himself. But here's the killer part. So after the pursuit team, starts to lose the chase, they put in the call to Max over the radio. And when the camera goes over to Max, it doesn't show him in his car. It's really a close-up of his sunglasses. So there's kind of this mystery building of who this guy is. So it's a really close-up of his sunglasses, and then it's a close-up of his CB radio, and he's talking back to the guys, trying to get the situation, trying to get the details of the chase. And after he figures out what's going on, he basically says, "I'm on it." He tells his other cops that he's on it, and he reaches for his automatic transmission, so the camera zooms in on his automatic transmission, and he puts it from park to drive. It's like a 3-speed transmission, which is kind of ridiculous. But he puts it into drive, and then the camera pans back out to the back of the car and slowly starts to pan down. And you see the cop lights, and you see the rear window, and then it pans down to the back of the car, and that's the killer part. Because when it pans to the back of the car, you see the dual exhaust, you hear the engine roaring, and then you see the title of his car. And his car is titled Interceptor. And it brings everything full circle at that point. You know who this guy is, or at least you know enough about him. You know the life he must live and what his job is. And I'm not going to ruin the last 2 minutes of what happens after that, but when he pulls onto the highway and starts cutting off the bandit who's making a run for it, the Knight Rider, those last 2 minutes are just incredible. But this 10 minutes of film, I feel, still stands up today, even way back from 1979. The rest of the movie is a little uneven. There are some really good points, or really good parts, but that first 10 minutes is just absolutely incredible. I actually think they should just show those first 10 minutes in theaters today, and I think it would probably sell out some theaters even today. So that's my favorite 10 minutes in film history. Hope you enjoyed it. Please make your comments if you're a Mad Max fan, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right, I'll see you next time.